everybody, to the One to Go Show presented by Dirt Track Supply. It is Bert Lehman in the brown shirt. It is Ryan Aho in the Eggersdorf sweatshirt, I believe.
Exactly.
Yep, yep. It is Puka with the same sweatshirt on. It is chilly, snow on the ground here in northern Minnesota. We're just loving it. We can't wait as we head into a long weekend here for the kids. Episode 150 at a landmark here, fellas, a century and a half.
Well, it feels like we just got this party started, but I'd like to say we know a little bit more about what we're doing, but I'm not really sure if that's accurate or not. But it's definitely better than the podcast days where things were cutting out. We didn't have volume half the time. So, man, it's been an honor doing this show with you guys. It's been a hell of a lot of fun over the last few years.
Sure.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's hard to believe it's been that long already. I remember when we first started out, we were doing it a different way and we didn't have video. So, I mean, we couldn't see each other when we were talking. So I guess we've come a long ways.
Yeah. Next week we will start. Next week we start year 4.
We do. And we're just talking about this, Bert, before Puka jumped on. You know, a lot of these sports shows got a pretty host of the show. We got Puka. We got kind of gypped on this deal. I got to be honest with you. I mean, Puka, we love you, man, but I'm just be honest. There's a lot prettier gals out there than you. I mean, I just saying, maybe we get Heather on here.
Hey, I told you guys, let's do podcast only. You guys insisted you wanted your faces out there to the world. I knew I had a face for radio.
I definitely have a face for radio, for sure. Bert's the one who brings the thunder every day.
Oh, I don't know about that.
That's for Bert Lehman. Check him out on Facebook.
All right, we're from Dirt Track Supply.
Yeah, huge thanks to those guys. I mean, the racing season, for the most part, in our area is done. But this is the time of year, race fans and drivers and spouses and girlfriends of drivers, get your stuff, get your parts, get on the list. If you need tires, parts, safety equipment, whatever it may be, get a hold of Trevor, get a hold of Ron over at Dirt Track Supply. If you need fab work done, bodies, if you need a new chassis, they have the Aero chassis. They do a lot for racing. So definitely support those. Tell them the guys at the One to Go Show sent you. So thanks to Ron and Trevor at Dirt Track Supply.
And wherever you're consuming us right now, we'd appreciate a thumbs up, a like, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Facebook. We'd appreciate that. That's kind of the way this gig goes. The more subscribers, the better off we are. All right, a blast to the past brought to you by Impact Health Sharing, Ryan.
Yes, that time of year, right? Open enrollment is here. So if you're paying for your own health insurance, if you're a business owner paying for your own health insurance or paying for your employees, chances are you're not happy with how much you're paying. You're spending a lot of money, maybe on something you don't even use. Give me a text, give me a Facebook message, give me a call, whatever you got to do. I can get you a quick quote, see if we can help you out. Quite honestly, guys, the premiums have been about $600 roughly per month for an entire family with a deductible of about $2,500 combined. That's not individual people in the family, that's combined. So we're talking considerable savings. Check me out, see if I can help you.
So I went to math class in Chisholm, Ryan, like you did. So that would be $600 times $7,200 a year in savings. Is that my math right? Chisholm math?
Well, that'd be $7,200 a year you'd be paying. I know people, Puka, that are paying between $1,500 and $2,000 a month. So I'm talking people are saving as much as $1,500 a month. So that's $18,000 a year savings. Plus the deductible is a lot lower than what most people are paying. So there's a lot of money that you can keep in your pocket and buy race car parts from Dirt Track Supply on.
That's right. It's just a wealth transfer from the health companies to Dirt Track Supply. Yeah, get a hold of Ryan. All right, episode 150. I know I've got a 354, so that's going to be coming up in a couple of 204 episodes from now. Either of you have a 150?
I do not.
I don't have a 150, but I have some 50s. So, all right, Bert, we'll start with you. I know that you have to have a 50. Who do you got over there in your neck of the woods?
Uh-oh. Well, I have a 50, but I don't know if it's the one you're thinking of, because I don't know if you would know this one. This driver's still racing, but he races number 79, which is the number he's had most of his career. But it's a blast from the past in a way, because he's 80-year-old Jerry Munster. I believe he raced number 50 when he turned 50. That might be why he had number 50, but that was like 30 years ago.
So
But yes,
racing 30 years ago, he's still racing. He's number 50. I'm not even 50 yet, and I'm already like a couple years ago. I feel like a quitter. Puka, I think what we need to do is Puka needs to buy me a race car. Bert can scrape mud, do tear-offs. Well, I'll be good.
So yeah, I have Jerry Munster, IMCA modified driver. And I have a driver from out west, but I know Ryan's got this guy, so I'll let him.
I do, and Puka, you probably have at least one, but if you don't, we're gonna do what we did last week, a little trivia here, right? So I'm just gonna go with this. I mean, when you think 50, you're a late model guy. 2009 Wissota late model national champion. I think he won some big stuff. Bert, you were mentioning possibly a NASCAR regional championship of some kind. Who do you guys got there?
I think he's got more than one of those NASCAR championships. But give her up for the number 50, Jeff Wildon. I can't remember which announcer used to say it, but he used to say it just like that. But yeah, recently removed? 2 or 3 years out of the sport?
Yeah, just a couple of years. Which is crazy because I mean he was still in his prime, winning a lot of races, and he just decided that's enough. And I don't know if he's ever going to come back. But Jeff Wildung, I mean, very accomplished racer. Nassau, Minnesota. He made Madison, Minnesota, Viking Speedway in Alexandria, a couple of his home tracks, Montevideo. I mean, that guy was a phenomenal race car driver. You guys got any stories that stick out about the Flying 50?
Not necessarily a story so much, but I remember watching him race every year at the Wissota 100 at Cedar Lake back in the 90s, and it seemed like every year, and this is when it was popular to do that, he would bring that left front tire off the ground like 2 or 3 feet in the corners, and I mean he did that consistently, but he was fast doing it.
I remember when he was kind of a mystery when it was a little bit more of that NASCAR stuff. And actually, do you remember the time, Ryan, when Jeff Hinkemeyer kind of stopped coming to Hibbing and started doing some of that NASCAR stuff? But then then he kind of made the fold into Wissota, and NASCAR stuff fell off there in Alex or wherever. But it was good to see him. What my biggest memory, and Bert, you might remember these. Well, Ryan, you were racing these days. You remember when he had 2 cars? He'd bring them both to the Nationals, and Rick Eckert would drive his other car in the Wissota portion. You guys remember that?
I do remember that.
Yeah, he'd throw it in that 50 car. So and then of course Veit or whatever, and then Ivanko, and of course Vanko's been continuing to stay involved with the sport with Jimmy Mars.
Yeah, I remember the first time I remember seeing him. I feel like it was a Wissota 100, maybe it was a USA Nationals, but I think it was a Wissota 100. He had a red number 50. It said D. Michael B's down the side, and I'm like, this guy's on the pump. I don't even know who the heck this guy is. Like, who is? I mean, he was charging hard, and from that point on, I'm like, I'm gonna keep an eye on this 50, Jeff Wildung, and great career he had. I don't know if he's done, but man, he did. He made a lot of good laps in that late model and in the modified. So, I got another one for you. This guy here, generational, right? So he has grandkids out there racing right now, and they race. I think in the actual late model division at the Cedar Lake Speedway. Sharp looking rides. And what I remember him for mostly, he ran mods a lot, but I remember the winged modified class that he was in. Always had sweet looking hot rods. Come on, the 50 from Wisconsin.
Usually an orange car, Kevin Vibrock.
Kevin Vibrock. You remember him, Bert?
I do not.
Yeah, you're a little too far east over there to remember him, but man, he was always super serious, right? Kind of pretty intense guy. And I remember I needed some stuff done. He's like, yeah, come on over. We'll take care of you. I'm like, well, what do you want? He goes, you just make sure to tell people I'm a nice guy. And I'm like, well, that's easy to do. Well, not everybody thinks so, he said. But he had really, really sharp looking rides. And of course, his grandkids out there, Gavin Terrace, a grandkid, and then Chase Vibrock, also a grandkid running the sprint cars. So just a very talented driver, great ambassador to the sport, ran mostly at the Cedar Lake Speedway. Now, here's another one for you. So this guy's won races such as the Yankee Dirt Classic, okay? I remember racing against this guy in a late model in the WDRL car. Okay, they came up to Superior. Who do you guys got there?
Are you talking about Denny Eckert?
That's who I'm talking about.
Very good, Bert.
He was on my list.
There you go. And very. Is he still racing, or he's been?
I don't know.
So he's a brother-in-law to the Simpsons. I'm 99% sure the Simpsons sister married Denny. But I haven't seen or heard of him now for 3-4 years.
Something like that. Was it Denny and Dave? Was there a Dave?
There was a Dave, so maybe it was Dave. Maybe Dave's married to the sister, but I'm pretty sure somehow one of those Eckerts is tied in with the Simpsons.
Yeah, and Denny was the one that I remember being the better of the two. That dude won a lot of races. I mean, if you look back, if you just Google him online, there's a huge list of accomplishments, tons of pictures with the big Happy Gilmore checks, right? So Denny Eckert, definitely a good wheelman. Now, another guy I have here, I got this one from Jeff, our late model expert. So this guy was inducted into the National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame in 2004, a driver from Missouri.
Cool. That was a year of Nesbitt and Auckland.
Was that the same year? Might be.
2004.
Ed Dixon. I didn't know much about him, right? But Jeff sent that over. He said, look, hey, he's in the national. We're going to talk more about that National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame in just a minute. But Ed Dixon. Now, I have a couple more. You would not know these guys. I got a fun one for you in a second. But I remember going to the ABC Raceway in my early years, Red Clay Classic, going there with my dad. There was a guy by the name of Charlie Anderson. I think he's got 8-10 feature wins over at the ABC Raceway in Ashland, raced for a long time. And I met him as a kid, haven't seen him for years, but that's a guy I remember in the number 50. Of course, a super stock. I got to have a super. Another one up in Thunder Bay at the old Riverview Raceway. I don't remember. You might not remember this guy. Maybe you will, but it was in the Diamond class. And remember Brown Street Station? It was on Timko's car. Several cars had the Brown Street Station on the car. My dad, Ron Jones, drove for my dad. And that we were sponsored by the West Fort Hotel, which was right above the Brown Street Station. Okay. Wow. Now this was a rock and roll bar. Like every time we stayed there, somebody would pull the fire alarm. I mean, it was rowdy. Right? It was crazy. But George Hanna, he was a guy from up in Thunder Bay, ran, and the name stuck out because at the time my dad worked at the Hanna Mining Company, right over in I think Nashwauk is what it would be. But George Hanna, a guy that raced up in Thunder Bay, of course, Thunder Bay, the tradition is back, right? Yeah. Racing is back in Thunder Bay, so I want to give him a shout out. Another one from north of the border, Emo, Ontario, Canada, which I'm going to International Falls tomorrow, so I'm going to be right across the border. But Bill Derendorf, he made some trips down. He ran Hibbing. He came down a few different times, ran the modified division, and then gave a lot back to the sport because for several years, he was a president of the Borderland Racing Association up in Emo. Now, I got one more Canadian for you, okay? I didn't even know this guy had a brother. B, I didn't know his brother raced, okay? So his older brother has a number that's maybe one digit higher than this one, okay? From Thunder Bay, probably, if not for Nesbitt, he's the other most iconic driver from Thunder Bay. You can guess that name, right?
There's got to be a Kreiderman.
That's a Kreiderman. So Tracy Kreiderman. I didn't even know Joel had a brother, right? Yeah, a lot of people say, I didn't know Ryan had a brother because my brother didn't go to the races. My sister always did. But Tracy Kreiderman in the hobby stock division up at the Riverview Raceway, I have some pictures on here. I found them on a racing page from Thunder Bay. I'm like, holy crap, I'm Googling number 50. I'm like, Joel Kreiderman had a brother that raced? I'm like, who knew? I had no idea. So I thought that was kind of crazy. So kind of fun talking this blast of the past, but let's jump on to some current stuff.
Yeah, let's go to our top 5 moments of the week, brought to you by Brad Parsons, Egg Solutions, and Agrizyme. There it is.
Yep, Agrizyme. Yeah, I tell you what, people spend money on fertilizer. There's fertilizer companies that sponsor other racers. Get a hold of Brad. He's a local guy. He has great products. The yields were through the roof. I mean, just incredibly said. A lot of farmers very happy about it. Western Minnesota, North and South Dakota. He's been a racer for a long time, so why not support people in our own community? But get a hold of Brad Parsons. If you're looking to have a great 2023 season in farming, make sure to get some products from Brad. He'll definitely help you out.
Yeah, give it a try. Awesome. All right, number 5, Charlie Schwartz back in the news.
Tell you what, there was not a lot exciting about the racing in my mind at the Dirt Track World Championships, right? But this is one of the coolest moments. We talked about the Bobby G deal, right, from a couple weeks ago, where Jeff Provenzino and Joe Provenzino conspired together. They had the Bobby G throwback. Well, there's a guy, I don't know who owns the car, but they built an exact replica of Jim Dunn's D1 late model. Who's Jim Dunn? Jim Dunn won the inaugural Dirt Track World Championship in 1981 at Pennsboro. Now, do you know the story, Puka, behind Jim Dunn winning that race?
No.
Bert, do you?
No.
So he crashed or something broke in the heat race. Okay. So he looked at, there's like 90 some cars. There's more cars then than there was at this one. It pays $100,000 to win now. So this is a big race. Carl Short started this race. So he said, look, here's the deal. We're starting last in a B main. There is no sense sticking around for tomorrow to start last in a B. Probably just going to wreck more shit. We'll just go home. Okay. So then he takes upon himself to get everything loaded up. They go to leave. Truck wouldn't start. So his crew and everybody's like, we're here. Can't go anywhere. Let's at least put the car back together. Let's go out there, start the B main, see how far you can get up, maybe at least get some start money or something to pay for gas, right? Because money wasn't quite as plentiful for these late model touring teams then as it was now. He wins the B from the back.
Ooh.
Then he wins the feature from the back. Passing Rodney Combs. Remember that guy, right? Number 5 passed Rodney Combs to do it. Doug Kinnemer got 3rd. Donnie Moran got 4th. Charlie Schwartz got 5th. Neil Bonnet got 18th in that race. That's kind of a cool story. So they put that all together. So he won a couple of years later. Jim Dunn passed away. I think he got in an accident. I'm not sure what happened. But Charlie Schwartz, they knew each other. Charlie Schwartz, I mean, his career legendary. You guys remember he came to the Superior Speedway and lapped the entire field up there. But Charlie Schwartz got to drive that car during the parade lap, led the field with green, big smile on his face. Super cool deal. Probably in my mind, the coolest thing that happened at Pennsboro. But there was a couple more things that were pretty cool. We'll talk about that in a second.
All right, Tad Pospival.
We hate to see tracks go, right? The finale at the I-80 Speedway in Nebraska sounds like it's done. I mean, I haven't heard anything positive that it's coming back. I've seen a lot of stuff saying it's done, but they had I guess it would have been a co-sanctioned event they had there. Tad Pospisil got it done. Justin Zeitner, guys, 17th to 2nd in that race. But Tad Pospisil will go down as being the driver for the time being. We'll see. Maybe we don't know what the future holds, but it ain't looking good. But he might be the last person to ever take the checkered flags at I-80. So hate to see places go, but the Kosiskis have done a lot for racing.
Absolutely. All right, number 3. We're going to turn it to NASCAR. We're obviously in the chase here, and some fireworks yesterday.
Oh, I got to give a donkey award on this. So this is, I mean, I'm gonna give a little recap, and I know you guys got something to say about this. So, I haven't watched much NASCAR. Beginning of the year, I watched a couple races. This time of year, there's so much dirt racing and football, I just didn't watch it. But Kyle Larson went 3 wide, and he moved up the racetrack and got really close to Bubba Wallace. And I don't know if the air came off him or what, but it was a couple feet away. The video that I'm playing right here shows it. You can look online. The video shows it. A couple feet away, Bubba Wallace, right into the fence, all by himself. Proceeds to stay in the gas, turn hard left, and drives wide open into the right rear of Kyle Larson and just stuffs him into the wall. Okay?
He said when he hit the wall, his steering broke, so he had no control of the car.
Yeah, so did his foot on the gas pedal and his brake pedal. All of it broke.
The throttle stuck. The throttle.
Yeah, and here's proof that didn't happen because he's full of shit. Okay?
Well, no, I know. I agree.
So he gets out of his car and literally runs over to Kyle Larson. And Bubba Wallace got to be what, 6'2", 250?
He looks like a big dude. Yeah, he looks like a big dude.
Kyle Larson is a horse jockey, 4'7", just a little taller than Rico, and weighs 130 pounds, right? So you got him down there being tough guy, pushing on Kyle Larson, and like he's trying to pick a fight. And people are like, Kyle Larson maybe looked like he got hurt. He might have got banged up in that. I'm not really sure. But people online are like, oh, Kyle Larson kept his composure. No, you ain't gonna fight somebody twice as big as you, right? It ain't gonna happen. So I got a little bit more on this, but when you guys saw that, what went through your guys' mind?
Well, when I first saw the video, they only showed when Kyle Larson was right next to Bubba and then Bubba hit the wall. So I wanted to see leading up into that. So I actually did see it. And yeah, I mean, Larson said he drove it in hard, went 3 wide. The car got a little loose and, it walked him up the track and he got got close to Bubba and, Larson took blame for it. I mean, he admitted it was his mistake, but, when they interviewed Bubba, he was just all, Larson did a dumb move. He tried to, he didn't have me cleared. Well, Larson wasn't trying to get into the same lane that Bubba was in. The car just got a little away from him because he drove hard into the corner. And yeah, I mean, he never touched Bubba, but I mean, I'm not saying it's not Larson's fault, but I mean, that's just how the air affects those cars when they get that close to each other. And I mean, and I agree. I mean, Bubba did not lose his steering. I mean, the way he went right after that car, that was it was intentional. And
actually he did lose his steering. There's a device between the seat and the steering wheel, right, that malfunctioned. Oh, that's the driver, right? Okay, fair enough.
And well, and then as far as Larson fighting back and that sort of thing, it's sad that it comes to this, but you have to remember that Larson was suspended from NASCAR for a while because of a comment he made several years ago. And, Bubba, is a different race than what Kyle is. So you kind of have to be careful not to, stir that up.
I hope it doesn't go down that political road or whatever. I mean,
no, I agree.
It's gonna come up. It is, but and whatever. I mean, they don't like. Well, Bubba obviously doesn't like Kyle Larson. It is what it is, But that deal was what it was. But I think this was hot.
Well, no, go ahead, Puka.
Well, I was gonna say, he could have kept racing. Number one, he could have kept. I mean, he was still going. I mean, he brushed the wall. He could have kept racing. Number two, I really feel bad for Christopher Bell, who I understand is in the chase. And so when Bubba collected Kyle, like I said, Bubba ran down onto the right rear side of Kyle, which sent Kyle sharp to the right, hit Christopher Bell. So, he's done. Did you notice when the incident happened, as far as the fight, there were some medical people there. And when he started pushing on Kyle, the medical staff were like waving for NASCAR people. There was really nobody there for 5 to 7 seconds. There's poor Kyle Larson, half the size of Bubba Wallace, and Bubba's fuming, talking to him, pushing him, right? Shoved him, a couple of times. So I thought that was kind of like, what are you doing standing there? Like, help the guy, grab Bubba. So I thought that was a little bit ironic. Bubba sponsored by McDonald's. That definitely does not fit the McDonald's brand. Bubba has had trouble keeping sponsors in the past. I think Blue Emu was one of them that bailed during COVID when he said, I think he was iRacing. He said, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Or this isn't real racing or something like that. So it'll be interesting. Now, I believe Michael Jordan's one of the owners of that team.
Yes.
Yep.
Right. So of course, MJ was a McDonald's guy back in the 90s, but it'll be interesting to see if they, stay on board or, obviously we'll never know this, but maybe they kind of come down on him and say, listen, that isn't the McDonald's brand at all. Because like you said, he walked down the track quite a ways over to Kyle. He took him 20 seconds to get there, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So a lot of time to premeditate, a lot of time to cool yourself down. But of course, the incident still happened.
Well, and the problem I have with retaliating at high speed is you could injure somebody or even kill somebody. If you watch the replay, when he spun Kyle Larson, I believe Larson hit the wall, driver's side to the wall. And, that's never a good thing. But, when you're retaliating at full speed, you just open it up for injury and worse. I can remember this is when when Brad Keselowski first started racing, and this was at Talladega or Atlanta, and Edwards was upset with Brad Keselowski and intentionally spun him, and Keselowski wound up flipping over, flying into the fencing, and there's just no place in racing for that. I don't have a problem if you're on the cool down lap and you start banging into each other a little bit, or if you're driving down pit lane after the races and you're giving shoves or whatever with the cars, but you can't be doing it at full speed.
Well, and let's add to the fact, right, that it's one thing to drive into the side of somebody, drive over their hood, quarter panel, or whatever. But when you turn left and you hook somebody in the right rear, that is intent to injure. That's using your car as a weapon, because there's a between hitting somebody like this and shoving them up into the wall rather than turning down. When you hook somebody, driver's side of the wall, that's easy to roll a car over. When you snap it to the right like that. Now let's think back, right? Matt Kenseth had an incident where he retaliated. Didn't he got at least a 1 race suspension.
Yeah, it was at least 1 week.
Yeah, Kyle Busch, wasn't that with Hornaday in the truck deal where he intentionally wrecked him? And he got suspended for the whole weekend from all the NASCAR races that weekend. At minimum, Bubba should get at minimum the same as that, right? Precedent has been set. But not only did he do that, trying to wreck he wrecked 2 cars on purpose, but also the post-race or the post-incident deal going down there. Now, when 2 people go at it and they're pushing, that's called a fight. When one person is pushing somebody, that's called assault, right? So, we talk about it. Sometimes that stuff's needed, but would he have gone down there all feisty if that was Ryan Newman or Tony Stewart? Or can you imagine him at a dirt race, going after Darren Murata or Ed Wakefield or Jared Lowe's or one of these people that they like to fight, right? He went after somebody that he knew wasn't going to fight it back. He knew that, right? Because obviously that's a horrible situation for Kyle Larson, because he's already had the situation a couple of years ago that got him suspended. The last thing he's going to do, even if he was big enough, is fight with Bubba. Ain't going to happen, right? But on the flip side of it, he's like half his size. So coward move by Bubba Gump. We'll call him Bubba Gump, but it'll be interesting. I know NASCAR, we talked about, they usually bring down their rulings on Tuesday. We're doing the show on Monday. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of penalties passed along, if any at all. But I'm assuming something's going to happen.
My prediction is he won't get suspended, but he'll get fined.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. We'll see what happens. I just was looking at some headlines. Nothing's come across the headlines either. Although they say that Bubba is being incited with lots of anti-Asian hate. So maybe it's going to go back the other way on the political correctness, and Bubba's going to be in the tank on this one. So real interesting to see. All right. Number 2 of our moments of the week. The 19-year-old shocks the world at the Dirt Track World Championship.
Unbelievable. So, Bert, I know you watch this race. Touch a little bit on this.
Yeah, I mean, Garrett Smith, 19 years old, started on the pole, and he's the first driver since Scott Bloomquist, I can't remember what year, to lead all 100 laps of the race. You know, it to be 19 and to do that, that's unbelievable accomplishment. I for those of you who watched it, you know that apparently he had a teacher over the weekend that helped him win that race, and that would be the voodoo child himself, Scott Bloomquist. And I liked how when they talked to Bloomquist and they asked him what advice he gave them, and Bloomquist said, if the track gets like this, and I knew the track was going to get like this, I told them to just stay low and don't get out of that groove. Even if you meet up with a lap car, you stay in that groove and do not get out of it, which is exactly what you had to do, because if you're going to get past, you make them pass you on the outside. And if they pass you on the outside on that in those track conditions, you just, you know, tip of the cap to them for making it work.
Absolutely. And you know who his crew chief is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cody Mallory.
Yep.
You know, and I had heard that a couple of weeks back, and you know, I mean, what do you say about that guy? I mean, enough said.
Yeah, I mean, he had great success with Bloomer. He had really good success there with Jimmy Owens, but him and Bloomquist had a falling out. They didn't even talk for a while, and they kind of rekindled. Scott Bloomquist said he didn't even know Garrett Smith 6 months ago, and so Cody Mallory kind of pulled some leverage here to kind of put them together, and that was a great accomplishment. I believe, I was looking back, 19 years old, and he just turned 19, like 4 or 5 days ago. Okay. And I had to write down a little memory there. So he just turned 19, but I was looking through my race pass for stats, and I saw that he won some crate stuff, but I believe this might be his only win in a super late model. So, I mean, if you're going to get your first win, I mean, $100,000 to win race for your first win, that's pretty darn amazing. And I mean, this is just he did what he had to do. He had to start on the front. He had to qualify good. He had to stay up front. There's drivers that start in the front of their heat that went straight backwards. He did not. He won his heat, and then he led all 100 laps, kept his composure. There was a lot of yellows at the end, held his cool. Great job to him. But another crown jewel, guys, where all 100 laps were led by the same driver. Disappointing, but huge accomplishment for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And what did the announcer? Who's the announcer for Lucas? Oh, the Hall of Fame.
I can picture him.
Yeah. Anyway, so just think if he was still in high school, how cool would it have been to show up in class today? What'd you do over the weekend? Pocketed $100,000.
Right. Yeah. Nothing major. You need to pay attention. I just made $100,000 in like just a little bit of time. I don't need to listen to you, teacher. Yeah, for sure. And I don't think 19.
What was also cool is, I don't know if you guys saw his interview after the race, but he could hardly talk because he was crying so much. I mean, very emotional. So, you know, he doesn't seem like one of those kids who, you know, just expects things to happen for him. You know, he seemed like he was very appreciative of the opportunity and the accomplishment.
Yeah. Absolutely. 45 shows this year, 3 podiums. He had a third and a second. And then now he got a win. He's showed some speed all year, right? But he's kind of had a lot of learning curve, but that's to be expected, right? So congratulations to him, and let's see if he can get a few more here next year.
Yeah, James Essex it was inducted into the late model Hall of Fame. He's the announcer for Lucas Oil. All right, let's get back to local late models. Big news, Hall of Fame announcement for one of our local legends.
Our top moment of the week, my top moment. Some people would argue that the 19-year-old winning the Dirt Track World Championship is one. I don't think so. In our area, this guy stands. He is definitely on the Mount Rushmore of late model drivers, race car drivers in general in our area. But Agent Orange Rick Eggersdorf being inducted into the 2023 National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame. That always takes place at the North South 100 down in Florence. That's where they have the Hall of Fame. Unbelievable. That well-deserved, one of the best ever what are you guys' thoughts? Do you have any memories, anything that sticks out about Rick Eggersdorf?
Well, the thing that sticks out with me is you mentioned orange. I mean, his orange cars were just iconic. And whenever MJ traveled out to the western part of Wisconsin to race, if Eggersdorf was in the pits, you knew that he was one of the drivers that was going to be near the front at the end of the race. And this isn't necessarily a memory. Even though I was at this race, I really don't remember much from it, but I know I was at this race. But Rick Eggersdorf won a World of Outlaws race at Shawano Speedway in 1989, in June of 1989.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, he won a Gopher 50. He won the first USA Nationals in 88. So he's got some big wins. Speaking of the USA Nationals, you were there, Bert, I don't know, 13, 14, one of his last years. Remember him rolling on the front stretch just past the flag stand in a B or a heat race in the Wazota part? Remember that? It was a pretty hard roll. That was one of the last times.
I don't remember that.
One of the last, I think there were 2 rollovers that night. It had rained, real tacky track, but he got, one of those, got a little sideways. Somebody got under him, put him over. But my biggest Rick Eggersdorf memory would probably be in 99, late 99 into August. Geller, what was Geller's first name? He raced for Geller.
Craig.
What is it?
Craig.
Geller. Okay, so he raced for Craig Geller, and they Rayburns were hot then, and he got in that Rayburn, and he won just about every invitational in 99. The Punky, he won, I believe, the ABC. He came up to Superior. I mean, he cleaned everyone's clock. He was just like unbeatable, and that was, I suppose Mars has probably done it since then, but it was one of those years where that one guy just came through and dominated. Maybe Doors had a year like that too, but that really sticks out back in 99 because it was like, oh gosh, he's going to start the year next year, and how's anyone going to beat him?
And I remember 95 sticks out to me, and years before that. So he ran modifieds, super stocks. He had the Olsen Brothers Liquors, the Blue 21. Yeah. Big Joe Jensen was his crew chief on that car. And that's why Joey Jensen, right, and Brandon Jensen were both 21. That's why, because Big Joe was 21. So he ran, I remember him being in the super stocks. Him and Ron Jones had twin cars, and then Bobby Houston had one as well. But that 21 modified, I remember he came to Hibbing for Labor Day, and between the modified and the late model, he won 3 of the 4 features over Labor Day weekend. So he was phenomenal there. And then I remember him being arch nemesis with Ron Jones, him, Jones, Brueggemann, V-Brock, some of them in the winged outlaw modifieds at the Cedar Lake Speedway. One of my memories, I got lots, and stay tuned because we got some special content coming. I'm not going to give a time frame, but being that he's getting inducted, I'm setting up a little get together with Rick Eggersdorf.
Oh, so that'd be cool. They actually interviewed him at the USA Nationals this year. Bert, I believe that was the night you left. They were packing the track or something, and he was telling some stories, all the memories at Cedar Lake, all the wins. I remember them talking about. I think it was Steppen, on the call. He said, you and Nesbitt said, "Oh gosh, we had a lot of runarounds here," and then he talked a little bit about the modified. He started in the super stock, which I think might have been called the jalopy class back then. Does that ring a bell?
A hobby stock. He was number 5 when he started.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool to hear him go down memory lane. Like I said, he's a guy that just kind of fell off the sport real quietly too. Like we've talked about many people that just all of a sudden they're gone, like Kreiderman or something. And all of a sudden, like, where are they? And it was cool to kind of hear some of the stories he had, and like I said, a ton of fun memories for him at Cedar Lake. He's brought home boatloads of money out of that place.
I have one at Cedar Lake that's maybe not so fond of a memory for me with him. I mean, it was a good memory. It's probably my shining moment in the late model class. But Tony Stewart night, 2003, I started 12th. Me and Stewart got together with a lapper. There was an incident there, but in the closing laps, he was running the top. Dorr was running the bottom. I was third. And I got underneath Dorr getting into 3, coming to the line. We were 3 wide at the line. And my pit guy, Changa, who, happy birthday, buddy. It's his birthday today. So big happy birthday to my crew chief during all my championship years. He swears to God that I won that race. I don't know, it was close, but I got around them both, and Eggersdorf beat us both to the line by inches. coming around the high side on Tony Stewart night in front of a packed house. But tell you what, if I was that close to beating the best ever in my mind at the Cedar Lake Speedway. But I tell you what, that guy's won a lot of races for sure.
Well, one of the kings on how to save the tires. There was an opener, I think 98 maybe. Mars leading, Kreiderman leading, something like that. And he just kind of sat in third, and then he turned it on with about 5 to go and just made it stick on the bottom and raced around both of them. I believe it was 98. But anyway, yeah, congratulations, Rick Eggersdorf, all the crew, Craig Geller, everyone that's been involved with him. All right, you want to dive more into the Dirt Track World Championships here, and just some thoughts and analysis. And this section is going to be brought to you by buyraceshirts.com. So that's what it is, buyraceshirts.com. That's where you're going to go to get your shirts. Like we talked about, Christmas is coming. Heck, Halloween is coming. You want some gear out there for Halloween? Halloween's just a couple weeks away. So buyraceshirts.com. They got all kinds of designs you can choose from, or they'll custom design something that you want. Quantities, not an issue. Just, you can order small quantities 5, large quantities 500. You can do that. Sweatshirts, t-shirts, hats. That's your headquarters for your gear. buyraceshirts.com. All right, who do you want to start with here?
I think we'll just start, just a quick recap. I mean, you can look this up online, but Garrett Smith won T-Mac, right? He was 1 spot away from his first Dirt Track World Championship off of a big, obviously winning his 2nd straight Lucas Oil title. Mike Marlar got 3rd. Probably the most impressive move of the night, Hudson O'Neal, 16th to 4th. Heck of a run for him. Bright future ahead, getting into Rocket 1. EPJ in the top 5. So not a lot of movement. Couple things, I guess, Bert, I'm going to let you go ahead. There's a couple things that stick out to me that were kind of puzzling, but Bert, what stuck out to you?
Well, one of the things that stuck out to me was Superman had to win a B main just to get into the show. So I think he started like 23rd or something like that. He did get up to 6th or 7th. But so, it was surprising to see him have a tough time qualifying. Actually, he would have, if I'm not mistaken, he had a qualifying spot, but Hudson O'Neal got him on the last lap in the heat race on the high side to grab the last qualifying spot from the heat races.
That's correct. That's exactly what happened. Puka, anything stick out to you?
The only thing that stuck out to me is, do you remember last year was the fight between Chris Ferguson and Bishop with their crews? I can't exactly remember how that all happened, but that was last year at the Dirt Track World Championship. I think Fergie was running third or 4th with 5 or 7 to go, and we had a lot of cautions. Cautions breed cautions, right? We had a lot of cautions at the end of the race. There were guys blowing tires and stuff. I think there were 5 cautions and maybe the last 15 laps. But just kind of another heartbreak for him at Portsmouth. Like I said, getting booted last year, him and Shepard both getting booted, and like I said, a really good run for him. Succumbed to a flat tire, and like I said, 3rd, 4th pay versus starting pay, big difference.
Yeah, huge difference for sure. The track there, not the best. It's a 7th different track, right, that the Dirt Track World Championship has been held at. But the fact is, do you think that a few drivers, right, we're talking end of the year, $100,000 to win, right? No Chris Madden. No Chris Madden, no Pierce, Dennis Erb Jr., English, Clanton. I don't think McDowell was there. Jimmy Mars wasn't there. $100,000 to win. Part of the reason them guys, I figured them guys would be there. $100,000 to win. Why wouldn't they? But it doesn't pay back very good. 3rd place, $100,000 to win. 3rd place, $10,000.
Oh,
yeah. So I mean, it drops like a lead balloon, and then the track's not all that great. I mean, great atmosphere. They did some really cool stuff with like the D1 and Charlie Schwartz and honoring the Lucas Oil champion and the Rookie of the Year, which I think that was Dalton Wilson. Is that who?
I think Dalton, who was it between Dalton and save me.
We'll figure that out in a second here. But
Dalton was in there.
One of the last big ones, and we'll talk more about the trying to hit 2 million in just a little bit here.
All right, let's move on to the World of Outlaws sprint cars.
So I know, Puka, you said you didn't get a chance to watch the buggies.
No.
Bert, you watch anything stick out to you in buggy action?
I just watched one of the features. I watched the feature that Gravel won. Nothing really stuck out to me other than Brad Sweet is leading the points, but you just never hear his name mentioned during the racing action because he's not challenging for the top spots, but he always sits in that 4th, 5th, 6th spot. So he's able to maintain his points lead just, because he's consistently in the top 5 or around the top 5.
Yeah, Brad Sweet had a 5th at I-80 and he got 4th at Lakeside. Gravel, who's 54 points back, he's closing the gap. There's only a handful of races left. He got a 1st and a 3rd, and he says, all I can do is try to keep some pressure on him, right? That's all I can do. But, I mean, Brad Sweet is kind of like T-Mac. Doesn't win a lot. I mean, T-Mac won a few at the end, but usually he's always in the conversation, not the guy that wins a bunch of races, but just a really good points racer. Night number 2, J-Mac, not T-Mac, but J-Mac, James McFadden, ended an 81 race winless streak and got another win for, I think, win 99 for Roth Motorsports. But what was kind of cool, did you guys happen to see the post-race celebration? He did what's called the shoey. So if you're listening to this, I want you to picture this, right? Guy just gets done racing a full, in hot weather, World of Outlaws sprint car feature, and I'll be honest, I know some people that sweat. My buddy Jeff has the worst smelling feet on planet Earth, right? Like literally. The tradition in Australia when you win is to do a shoey where you take your shoe off, you pour a beer in your shoe that you just wore, and then you drink out of the shoe. It's absolutely disgusting, but he did nonetheless. So congratulations to J-Mac. Only a couple races left here for the World of Outlaws sprints. We'll talk about them in the upcoming events portion at the end.
All right, the Lucas Oil MLRA finale at Tri-City.
Bert, did you end up watching these features?
Yes, I actually did watch both of the features, and like you said, that was the best racing of the weekend, was the 2 MLRA late model features.
Yeah, Kevin and Tammy Gundaker down at the Tri-City Speedway down in Granite City, Illinois. They do a great job. Just right by St. Louis down there. The biggest thing I noticed, guys, is there's always a cushion there. Might be an aggressive one, but there's always a cushion. So you think back to Portsmouth. They all just roll the bottom. You see a lot of these races where they're just kind of rolling, not action-packed. And there's a cushion there which produces more exciting racing. Logan,
well, at the end of the race, there was no cushion because they pushed it all the way to the wall, and there were sparks flying at the end on the last few laps.
There was still a hint of brown at the wall, but yeah, it was pretty much gone on night 2. Logan Martin actually had a pretty impressive weekend. He got 2nd on night number 1, snuck by Gordy Gundaker. Night number 2, a little bit of a hip check there with about 7 to go. He threw a slider on old squirrel, Brian Shirley, and kind of give him the elbow. What impressed me, kind of disappointed me and impressed me, is in Victory Lane, they interviewed the top 3. They're talking to Squirrel, and he's like, hey, just congratulations to him. We needed to be a little bit better. He didn't pull a Bubba Wallace and cry like a baby, right? He literally never mentioned it. He never said one word in post about the contact for the lead, right? Not one, which, right, in the racing journalism that we're in, we're like, come on, we want that. We need that. We're like, say something. Go over there, kick him in the face. Do something. That ain't Squirrel. Squirrel's a class act. He's like, you know what? It is what it is. I wasn't fast enough. He got it done. But night number 1, Trevor Gundaker. I believe that's his 4th career super late model win. He looked really good. His brother Gordy run down to Victory Lane and give him a little shit. He goes, I ain't gonna let you beat me tomorrow. I guess I didn't look. They were both a little further back. But Trevor getting it done at the home track. And in the B-Mods, guys, on night number 2, Kenny Schrader parked it in Victory Lane. 67 years young. That guy's done a lot for racing, right? Just, I mean, he's a, some people they like to be a showman. He just wants to be one of the guys. Kenny Schrader is first class. So congratulations to him. But let's be honest, how many races does he have left in him? He's 67, I think he is. So I don't care if it's a Hornet, a late model, a B-Mod, I don't care what it is. When you win a feature, cherish it, because at some point when it's all over, you'll wish you had some more wins. So congratulations to him on getting it done down at Tri-City.
All right, let's wrap up with some racing down in Iowa. Benji Lacrosse, the man in the mod, or was he in the stock car?
He was in both.
Okay.
It was the Iowa Dirt Nationals or something like that for IMCA classes, and that was at Dubuque Speedway at the fairgrounds there. And I would say there was probably about 10 drivers from Eastern Wisconsin who made the trek down there. Because actually on Saturday night, 4 Wisconsin drivers qualified for the A feature, and 8 stock car drivers from Wisconsin qualified for the IMCA stock car feature on Saturday night. But there's also a driver from your neck of the woods. Dave Kane was there racing. In the 3 nights of racing, Kane finished 7th, 4th, and 6th in the features. But yeah, Benji Lacrosse was there in the stock car and the modified. Stock car, he was 2nd on Thursday night, didn't qualify the next night, and then finished 6th in the stock car feature on Saturday. In the modified, he finished 9th, 6th, and then he won the feature on Saturday night in the modified. So a good showing by the Wisconsin drivers. And some other things of note. Spencer Dirks, late model driver, won the IMCA modified feature on Thursday night down there. And then Chris Simpson was racing an IMCA modified. It is the Chris Simpson, the late model driver, Chris Simpson. I didn't see him qualify the first 2 nights, but he finished 23rd in the IMCA modified feature on Saturday night. So I watched all the stock car and modified features, and the track was very black and very slick, but there were still multiple grooves of racing. So, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of passing, but I mean, at least you could race all over the track, unlike the Dirt Track World Championship, where you just had to hug the bottom the entire time.
Yeah, that's what my buddy Johnny said. 45J, who incidentally, Bubba Wallace was driving a 45 this weekend.
Yes, that's what he's driving now.
I heard some rumors that were kind of similar to Johnny's driving at the end. I'm not really sure. Just kidding, Johnny. Just kidding. No, he said the racing at Dubuque was actually good. He said it wasn't overly like super exciting, but right. He said as a racer, as a race fan, he said there was definitely like you said, Bert. I didn't watch it, but he said there was multiple lanes of racing down there, and I would rather Johnny Broking than Bubba. Let's just make that clear right there. He's got to get rid of that number. Bubba's got to go back to 23. He can't be having the Broking number.
All right, ready to move on, folks? All right, just throw a comment in, whether it's our analysis from the week or our top 5 moments of the week. We'd like to hear your top 5 moments of the week. If you disagree with us, let's move on to who's hot, who's not. Bert, who you got?
I'm gonna stay local and go with Benji Lacrosse. He qualified for all but 1 feature down there in 2 different divisions. Got a first in the mod one night and a second in the stock car a different night. So I'll go with Benji.
All right, I'm going with the O Show, finally picking up the win at the, what was it, the Flow Night in America?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you know, Puka, that's his 8th straight win at races he's attended at the 411? So
I know that was the commentary. Did any of us pick him in the pick'ems?
I don't think so.
I mean, he ran across my mind, you know, because that's kind of his place, and I thought, well, he can't buy a win this year, in the super side, So, but yeah, congratulations, Jimmy. Who you got, Ryan?
I got David Gravel, right? He's constantly there. He's putting the pressure on it. I mean, he was about 100 points back. He's about cut that in half, but 6 straight top 5s for David Gravel in World of Outlaws sprint car action. And quite honestly, this is the closest points battle out of all the national touring series in 2022, right? Like everything else has been decided. It's pretty much over, but David Gravel still has a shot. One bad night for Brad Sweet, and David Gravel could end his streak of World of Outlaw championships. Stay tuned. It's going to be fun to watch here the last couple weeks.
All right, Bert, who's not?
I'm going to go with Tyler Erb. Just from a season-long standpoint, we all expected him. I mean, with Owens and Davenport announcing that they weren't going to follow the Lucas Tour, we were all expecting that, you know, Tyler Erb would be in contention for the championship at the end. And I should have looked up where he finished in the rundown, but they were saying that he could finish sixth. So to be expected to contend for the championship, and if you wind up finishing sixth, you got to consider that a little bit of a disappointment.
I agree with that, Bert. All right, I'm going with Sheldon. He was my pick last week. Sheldon Hochschild. Again, he has not won since Labor Day weekend when they're out in California at Skagit. So another 2 races in for the World of Outlaws Sprint Cars, and another 2 opportunities missed for Sheldon. Another guy at one point was super hot. You know, you remember he won the was it the High Bank Nationals in June there, the 100 grand, 150 grand, whatever, you know, and I think he does still lead the series in wins, but like I said, they're few and far between lately. Ryan, who you got?
Well, you want to know who's few and far between on wins? In fact, he has 0 in 2022. The killer, Kyle Bronson.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrendous season for the 40B. Not that he was a guy that won double-digit wins every year, but he's been awful. So remember now, he started promoting the Golden Isle Speedway. I'm just saying, I know what kind of a distraction that is because my last couple of years I was on the board at Hibbing. Brad Sang over at Grand Forks has been absolutely just mediocre at best over the last year here. And why? Because focus is elsewhere. Maybe that's a factor. 50 shows this year, guys. Only 10 top 5s total, 0 wins. I mean, he's got a handful of podiums that he had, but unbelievable how bad it's been for Bronson. And he even started front row. We're talking Portsmouth. There ain't no passing at Portsmouth, but he found his way to back all the way out of qualifying for the feature from the front row in a heat. So super disappointing year. And remember too, he didn't follow the Lucas Oil Series this year. So he did kind of the independent deal. There ain't no provisionals, right? No provisionals for Kyle Bronson because he ran that independent deal. Will he rethink that in 2023?
Yeah, good point. Good point. All right. Our locks of the week coming up here, brought to you by J. Schmidt Real Estate, Ryan.
Yeah, Real Estate by J. Schmidt, obviously, right? That is the lock of the week. Over in Watertown, South Dakota area, if you need any real estate transactions, land, commercial, residential, 20 plus years in business. I mean, first class family, first class guy, part of the racing community, his whole family is, but get a hold of J. Schmidt for all of your real estate needs. That is our lock of the week. But Bert, who's your lock of the week this week?
The pressure is going to get a little tighter on Brad Sweet because David Gravel is going to win the World of Outlaw Sprint Car race this coming weekend.
Ooh, there's a bold prediction. Good for you. I've got Dan Ebert at the topless down at Ogilvy.
Dan Ebert going topless. It's not a very good sight. My lock of the week is going to be completely contradictory to Bert, who is kicking the crap out of us and pick them. So I probably should change my mind here. But the National Open is this weekend at Williams Grove. That's 75,000 to win. Where's Williams Grove? Pennsylvania. Posse versus the Outlaws. The Posse will reign supreme this weekend. A member of the Pennsylvania Posse is taking home $75,000 this weekend in PA.
Well, come on. Who's it going to be? Louise?
I'll wait until I see what Bert, who did you pick for the
Gravel.
Oh, you picked Gravel. Okay.
I can't pick Gravel. I can't have Gravel as my lock of the week and not pick him in my picks.
Oh, I can pick for you pulling a fast one. I'm doing a coin toss here between Brent Marks and Lance DeWeese, right? Brent Marks is going to win this weekend in Williams Grove.
It's a good pick. That's a solid pick. All right. And fans, please put your comments in. Who you got this weekend, whatever class. We'd like to hear it. Throw it in the comments. All right. Moving on to the last lap, brought to you by Zuli's Race Engines. Not a lot of Wazona racing going on this weekend. Did Zuli squeeze out any wins this weekend, right?
Well, they always win, right? They're winners. They're winners in my book. They might not have found victory lane this weekend, but they're winners official national championships. But you're right. I mean, if you can't beat them, join them. This is the time of year. Get on the list. Frank's a busy guy. They got a lot of engines getting pumped out of that place, and there's a lot of feature wins. Get yourself some of that. Get a Zuli's race engine.
All right, Ryan. We talked a little bit about Viper Motorsports last week, and like I said, as of that time, what I had been told or what I had heard was that they're going to have a 2-car team. Evidently, that has changed.
Yeah, we were talking Max Blair maybe being a 2-car team. Max Blair going to Team Briggs. That leaves maybe Josh Richards as the odd man out. I have not heard if Josh Richards has secured a ride yet for the 2023 season. Silly season is here. Max Blair to Briggs. I heard Boom Briggs is a great guy to be around, but man, it just kind of seems like everybody that's running his stuff is not performing at a high level. Hopefully Max Blair does.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad for Josh Richards, former Lucas champ, former World of Outlaws champ. Did Bishop break his all-time? I think he's still the all-time winningest World of Outlaw late model driver. I don't think Bishop eclipsed him yet, right? Aren't they? Isn't he like one behind?
They're within one. I don't remember for sure, but they're right there for sure.
Yeah, and just really, I don't know if I've ever seen a guy just really fall off the way Josh Richards has maybe the last 2-3 years. And remember Vegas last year when he hooked up with Briggs, he actually ran pretty well. So we thought, wow, maybe this is the change he needed. And then, of course, when there started rumors 2 months ago that the Rocket House car might be available, while the natural was, well, he'll go home to Dad and race the Rocket House car. And Dad didn't even want him. Or maybe he didn't want Dad. We don't know that for sure.
I think it might have been that way. I think it might have been that way. There's some family dynamics there and all that, but Josh Richards still one of the best to strap in, and hopefully he finds a ride, and hopefully he can rebound and kind of get back into victory lane.
All right, JD's quest for $2 million got a little tougher over this past weekend.
It did. So, I just off the top of my head, there's some regional stuff. There's some World of Outlaw stuff this weekend you got going on, but he's got Vegas has 20 and 80,000, kind of that double down deal. XR at Alltech is 20 and 40. Charlotte, the World Finals, 15, 25. He's still about 150,000 out. Mathematically, there's like 50,000 or so left on the table to win. Not winning this weekend didn't help his chances any. What do you think, guys? Is he going to get it done?
I took the under several months ago, and I'm sticking to it.
I took the over, so I'll stay with the over. But yes, it's going to be definitely more difficult now.
Now, we were talking about Madden trying to eclipse $1 million, $100,000 to win. He didn't even show up. So he's got a couple XR races I know left on the schedule. I'm not sure what else. Probably be at Charlotte as well. Were you surprised?
Well, let's not forget this. Let's not forget what did Flo and Flo Racing in America announce? They're going to, is that the Peach State? The Peach State's a race now?
No, I don't remember which track it is, but yeah, it might be the Peach. I feel like the Peach State deal. That's the
Joiners.
Yeah. Yes, they are running a race directly against Vegas, so that's the same weekend as Vegas.
Oh, okay.
So
I think that was last year though too. I think it was last year too, wasn't it? Because we were wondering, would JD leave Georgia and go all the way to Vegas, or would he race in his backyard?
Right, you're right. I believe that's correct. So, yeah, that's interesting. And Bert, you had breaking news.
Yeah, it was officially announced today. I saw the press release that the team that Devin Moran is racing for, they have decided to part ways after this season. So it's from the press release. It sounds like Devin Moran has something lined up, but he said, I can't announce anything until all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and all the periods are in place.
So the Ty Tuareg team, right? That's who he drives for. Basically said, hey, if Wiley ain't pitting for you, we don't want you. Get the hell out of here. Just kidding. I'm not sure if that was the case. But speculation, right? Sources are telling me that Ty Tuareg is going to be partnering up with Best Motorsports and going to be helping back Turbo's ride for 2023. I'm not sure if that's 100. That hasn't been announced, but sources are telling me that. Could Devin Moran be going to the former ride vacated by Hudson O'Neal.
Ooh, yeah.
That was actually the first thing that I thought of when I saw the press release was, I wonder if he's going to that team.
Did Moran show up to the Dirt Track World Championship?
I believe he was.
Was there? Okay. Possibly another guy.
Don't remember for sure. I'd have to look back.
Must not have run too well. Must not have run too well.
No, he might. If he was there, it wasn't impressive. That's for sure.
So so it is the Peach State Classic, November 11th. That is the final race, and it has been recently added by Flow Racing Night in America. All right, a big birthday this past week.
Well, two of them, right? I mean, tonight it's Chonga's birthday right now. It don't get any bigger than that. He's my buddy. I won a lot of championships, and a lot of it was because of all the stuff that he did to help me out. So happy birthday, Chonga. But Red Farmer, 90 years young. They actually had Red Farmer's birthday bash, they called it, at the Talladega Short Track this past weekend. They had an event there, celebrated that, and man, I tell you what, it's really impressive to see a guy still turning laps at 90 years old. That's incredible.
Very much so. All right. And Kenny Wallace, go back to NASCAR.
Track championship this year for Kenny Wallace. Man, I don't have it in front of me. I feel like a bonehead, but he won the mod track at home track. Home track's got to be, is it Granite City's his home track? I believe it is, right?
Very well could be.
There's Evely and Granite City. I get a donkey award for not having that written down. That's an epic fail on my part. But here's
two donkey awards tonight. It
is one for me, and I should have had that written down.
You're in the same class as Bubba.
Oh, maybe that's some horse shit right there. But regardless, he said, "Look, I want to go win a track championship. Make track championships great again." And he's like, I race against great competition. It's where I cut my teeth. And I believe it's Granite City is where it was, but just super cool seeing Herm get a track championship in the modified. That might be his first one on dirt.
Yeah, awesome.
It's all that NASCAR money.
Yeah,
that NASCAR money.
And for those of you who don't understand, that is a joke because Kenny Wallace always goes on Facebook and he posts these little videos. And he says that people tell him that he's successful because of that NASCAR money.
All right. Final thing. Boy, we've talked a lot of NASCAR tonight, but some news on Kurt Busch.
I did not know this, but I saw this online. We had, we're in a couple text feeds as well. But Kurt Busch calling it, he's retired, right? You never know. He might dabble a little bit, but it sounds like he's done. Kurt Busch is the last NASCAR active driver that competed against Dale Earnhardt. So end of an era, right? It's over. End of an era. There's nobody left from that era at all, but a great career, right? Former NASCAR champion and obviously his brother. So, I mean, great family and racing, but yeah, Kurt Busch sounds like he's got some health issues. So hopefully
he was in an accident, I don't know, a month or so ago on track and suffered a concussion. And my understanding is he still has lingering effects from that concussion.
There's a guy playing football right now that, his wife said, "I don't want a concussion." He said, "Screw you." And I heard they hired divorce attorneys last week. I mean, come on, Kurt. I took a piss with Kurt once. I ever tell you guys that? The pits at Pocono. I'm in there taking a leak, and I looked to my right, and there's this tall guy, and it was the year he won the championship, I believe 2004, and I looked, and there's Kurt Busch. I said, "Hey, Kurt, you mind coming out and taking a picture with my wife?" And he said, "No problem." So I went and washed my hands. I made sure he washed his hands, which he did. He went out, we got a picture. So, yeah, pretty cool guy. Like, so, well, we were both, I think we're the same age, and we were in our 20s back then. But yeah, isn't that kind of ironic? You think of Earnhardt, you think, well, Kevin Harvick must have raced with him. Well, no, Kevin Harvick took over the next week in Atlanta in the Earnhardt ride.
Right. We're getting old, guys. It just is what it is. There's no other way around this.
Well, but yeah, great career for Kurt Busch. Congratulations and best wishes moving forward. All right, current standings. Bert. Brian, are we picking every class on Ogilvy so you got a shot at him? Are we picking the Hornets?
double points on all the races I win.
Double points, yeah.
Well, if you guys wanted to make up some ground, we should have been picking the races for the Tomahawk special this coming weekend, because it's a Puka special.
Well, I'll be there.
10 divisions of racing.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Man, Bert, how far do you live from Tomahawk? It's got to be right there.
No, it's an hour and a half, 2 hours away.
That's close. So I think I don't know what you think, but I mean, as a journalist, I think it's his duty. He's
Totally his duty. You know,
well,
you might have to sit in a sleeping bag, but we expect you there.
They were the special was supposed to take place last weekend, but they got snow on Friday, and so
right.
Snow up here like the last 4 days. But I want you to send video of you taking notes with your choppers on.
Yes, there you go. So yeah, he's got a big lead. I know you're second, I'm third, Jeff's fourth, and Mike and Brad are battling it out, trying to see who doesn't get last year. But not a fair start for either one of those guys.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, big weekend of racing coming up. We got Ogilvy, Tomahawk, like we just mentioned. Woo Sprint's got a couple of races. Woo Late Models with 3 races. Keystone Cup out in Pennsylvania. Fall Classic at Wynot. Florence 50 at Florence. Josh Rice getting the check there. Write it in.
Boy, I thought so for the North-South 100, but he kind of overdrove that one. I would say the smart money is he's going to take home 10 grand this weekend at Florence. I'm not sure. I haven't seen if that's on Flow or not. I didn't look to see if that one's on Flow. If it is, I'll probably watch that one. What are you guys looking forward to? What sticks out to you here this weekend?
Well, I like Ogilvy, and if you're going to go to Ogilvy, just pay for the VIP stuff. They got that big warm shack there. You can eat and drink and watch the races. It'll be great. And, the weather is supposed to pick up. Like, so we've had, about the last 4 days, we actually had snow on the roads this morning as I was driving in. I don't get my snow tires on until Thursday. So I actually had to normally if they snow tires, I don't care, but I had to go under the speed limit because I did not have my snow tires on. Difference between a tacky track and a dry track.
Dry slick.
Yeah, total dry slick. But I'm hoping, like I said, Ogilvy's trying to take a hell of a place. They have some really good specials. I think they're doing a great job down there. So I'm not only am I looking forward to that myself, but I wish them the best for a successful weekend. How about you guys?
I mean, Florence, that's usually always a good show there, but how can you go against the World of Outlaws versus Pennsylvania Posse?
That's my pick too, Bert. I mean, it's a bigger track, but there's a couple distinct lines around Williams Grove. It's kind of unique. Some of the locals are really good on the bottom there. We've mentioned Lance DeWeese. Brent Mark's more of a high side hustler there. But if I'm looking forward to any of them, I'm looking forward to 75,000 to win. This is one of their biggest races. It's the biggest race of the year at the end of the year for them for sure. But Ogilvy too. I mean, I know it's post Wissota season or whatever. It's kind of a nostalgia race. It's kind of a big, post season party, so to speak. But the Wagamans, they do a great job down at the Ogilvy Raceway, and we'll be able to catch that one on Dirt Race Central as well.
Let me look here. So I listened to a really good interview with Brad Sweet this week talking about the new High Limit series and what they're doing there and whether they're going to be able to race and not race. And just, he talks a lot about the mechanics and the business side. His deal is, we got more racing, more chances to win money. I'm looking at the schedule here. Weren't they just at Williams Grove just 3 weeks ago? They went Williams Grove, Port Royal. This weekend they are down, I guess you'd call it, southern Midwest and then out west, if you call I-80 out west. Now back to Williams Grove, and I can kind of see what he's saying.
This is rescheduled.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, because it was a double header at Williams Grove, which I don't know. We might have to actually talk to Jeff and look back at that. We already picked for this race, right? So we might put new picks down or whatever. You guys decide if we want to go back and take the pick we originally picked. It is there might be different numbers there possibly.
I think as long as the race hasn't started, you can repick. But like with the what was it? That was the Dream. That race had already started, so I mean, you couldn't change your picks for that one. So,
enough. So,
I mean, I'm,
so
I'm good either way.
Craig Kinzer for Bert.
I'm good either way. What you want to do, but I mean, as long as they didn't start the race yet, I mean, I don't see a problem with repicking. I don't even remember who I picked last time.
Puka, is that him getting cocky? Oh, I'm good. I'm good. It's kind of like Aaron Rodgers, just relax. Just relax.
Oh, there's no relaxing this year.
Yeah, the Packers fans are not relaxing. The Vikings fans aren't either. We're off to a good start, but I'm not going to get overly optimistic. Let's just put it that way.
For those of you fact checkers out there, go back and check. I think James McFadden's last win was Black Hills Speedway last year out in Rapid City. And I noticed, of course, this year they did not return to Rapid City, which was kind of been a stalwart on the schedule. Although Billings, Montana was a stalwart on the schedule when I was living out there in the early 2000s, and they haven't had a race in a handful of years out there either. All right, anything else, fellas?
No, that's it. So lots of content this week. We got some more racing coming up this week. Excited for it.
All right, so appreciate if you guys, all of you racing faithful, I'd like to show we'd appreciate a share right now. That'd be really great. Find Ryan Aho on Facebook at Ryan Aho, at Bert Lehman, at Racer Puka. Decals, again, had some interest in these this week. So $5 will get you a decal. Just get a hold of us, message us or what have you. Get your address, we'll get you some decals. Just put these on your car. And then, of course, they make great Christmas gifts. So keep that in mind. Great partners, Dirt Track Supply, Brad Parsons, Soil and Ag Solutions, J. Schmidt Real Estate, Zulie's Race Engines, BuyRaceShirts.com, Impact Health Sharing, Dirt Race Central, Mason Aaron's Videos. If you want to get a hold of us privately, it's theonetogoshow@gmail.com. Of course, you can find us on Spotify, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. For Ryan Aho, for Bert Lehman, I am Puka. Get out there and be your dream. We'll catch you on the next episode. You're tuned to The One to Go Show.